Here's KATC meteorologist Daniel Phillips.
All right, everyone, let's talk everything Ida here. We'll take a look at some of those impacts. Now, as we go through this impact forecast, keep in mind, things are going to change. They are going to get tweaked here or there a little bit. But where we sit today, early Friday morning, this is what we're potentially facing here with this system. It's looking a little better this morning. We are seeing some flare-ups around the center. It's still fairly exposed because of some shear on the southwestern side. I think it will eventually get its act together. Don't go to bed tonight. If it still looks like this, don't go to bed tonight thinking that everything will be all right, because it is expected to strengthen quite a bit once it gets into the southern Gulf of Mexico. The reason being, there's no dry air out there. There is really nothing that's going to get in the way. This trough is producing a little bit of shear here, so impacting it on the northern side, but unfortunately that trough moves towards the west. It's going to get shoved out of the way by Ida, so you're going to lose that shear there. It's also going to block any kind of shear that's coming from that storm that's out on the other side of Mexico. So calm conditions, there's not a lot of wind shear that will tear it apart. And then, as we mentioned, you've got water temperatures that are sitting about 90 degrees, basically straight through towards Louisiana. So all the conditions are right for development, and that's what the models are doing. They have been fairly consistent with that. I know we talk about wobbles, we talk about things fluctuating a little bit and going back and forth, but they have been remarkably consistent. Unfortunately, every time it wobbles, it pulls us in or pulls us out of some of those major impacts. Right now, a little further towards the west, it's going along with the European solution, so we'll see if they update at 10 o'clock if the National Hurricane Center drags that a little further westwards again. This is the center coming onshore, basically right on the border of Terrebonne and St. Mary Parish. That would be right up through Morgan City. Winds about 115 miles an hour. Wind gusts around the center going to be sitting about 120, 130. Gets down to here. You could still see some lingering showers up through Monday. Landfall looks to be maybe mid-afternoon on Sunday. Weather deteriorates through the day on Sunday, continues on Sunday night and into Monday. And with this storm, what has been consistent is a swath of rainfall that will produce 10 to 15 inches worth. Now, that swath has moved around a little bit. It has gone a little further east. It's gone a little further west, depending on where the center goes. But that seems to be kind of the higher end of things that we could end up seeing. And that could produce some pretty significant flooding. Think about if you get 10, 15 inches here, a lot of these rivers kind of empty themselves out into the Pearl River, which is going to be dealing with some pretty significant storm surge at its mouth. So you're going to see a lot of those tributaries backing up as well. As far as Acadiana is concerned, the further east you go, the worse that rainfall is going to be. Morgan City right now in the swath of the 10 to 15 miles an hour. New Iberia could be talking 5 to 8. But again, if you move that a little further eastwards, then you could see these numbers dropping a little bit. According to this one, Lafayette talking 2 to 4 inches. But if it moves a little further towards the west, then you're going to start to see those numbers go up. So that's why I say pay attention to the trends, see where things are kind of setting up to look the worst, and then put yourself in placement with regards to the center there. So be prepared for things to kind of move around a bit. This is a closer look at where you could see some of the higher amounts. Now remember, this was a little further towards the east this morning. This is slid a little westwards from when I came in. Now it could easily jog back a little bit out over towards the east as well. As far as the storm surge goes, I think you've got storm surge that could sit about 4 to 7 feet up along Vermilion Bay. They may update these numbers as well. That could also be possible coming out at about 10 o'clock today. 7 to 11 from Morgan City up through the mouth of the Pearl River, which is right there on the Mississippi and Louisiana borders. That's why I said if you get all of that rainfall up through the river parishes here, they all empty into the Pearl. And if it's dealing at the mouth, if it's dealing with high surge, that could be a bit of an issue as well. Add on top of it, you've also got the possibility for that wind to settle in. The wind radius could be bringing tropical storm force winds. I think that we're almost guaranteed for tropical storm force winds. Right around the center, you'll have that 115 mile an hour right along the edge of the eye wall there, and that will all be dependent on where you see this thing come in. But the hurricane force winds could stretch as far westwards, maybe out all the way towards New Orleans, so there is a little bit of a radius there as far as those winds are concerned. Guys?
Daniel, real quick, and I want our desk people too, if they're at home watching right now, to listen up. One of the questions is, when do we get the updates? When do we get the new cones?
So there's two different kinds. There's the full advisory, there's the intermediate advisory. 4 a.m., that advisory time there, that's the full advisory. You get an intermediate one every 3 hours. So we got one today at 4 a.m. We'll get an intermediate one at 7. That updates position, that updates strength, pressure, speed, stuff like that, kind of an update on the storm. Then you get at the 4 o'clock advisory, so 3 hours after that, every 6 hours you get a forecast track update. That's if this thing moves westwards, that's when you would start to see this moving west or east or stay the same as well, is also certainly possible. That takes place at the 4 o'clock advisory in the morning and the evening as well. And then I think you get another full one at 10 a.m. and another full one at 10 p.m.
So 4 and 10s, we get cones, and the rest of the 3-hour intervals, we just get an update.
Yeah. Now, as it gets
so when you're asking Daniel, when's the new cone come out?
Right. As it gets closer, though, that will start to happen with a little more frequency. And if there is a major update, then that could happen as well. But you're talking, if it goes from, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if something like it goes from Cat 4 to Cat 5, they're going to put an advisory out for that. So the big updates, they will also break in kind of off their regular schedule.
All right, 4 and 10 for cones. Got that.